Hello, everyone, and welcome in. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this is the Mad Science Lab podcast. I don't know why that graphic all of a sudden cuts off. I don't know if I trimmed it improperly, but I'm not really liking the way StreamYard's working lately. It's really bothering me. I'm not thrilled with my service, StreamYard. Things are not going well. So, anyways, here we are with the NFL Week 6 game recap about 30 seconds before Sunday night football kickoff. What is up with Josh Allen's hair looks like the Michael Myers mask, where it's just like brownish hair. But anyways,
man.
NFL Week 6 game recap kicking off just before the Sunday night football kickoff, but this will be airing at noon on Monday, so you will know the result of that game, even though we don't. Me and Jesse tonight. Jesse, how's it going? How did your Sunday turn out? You said less football, more pumpkin patch with the kids?
Yeah, so every year we go to the pumpkin patch like a week or two before, Halloween. And this year we had time, so I took the wife and the kid, and she was just rolling around in the mud, picking all the pumpkins. We found some pumpkins with like a prickly top, so I grabbed one, not realizing it had like thorns on it, and I was like, "Fuck!" So yeah, my hand's doing good. But other than that, it was fun. We had a good time.
Oh, I click on something for our graphics here. I got to switch over to. You taught me this the other day. I got to switch over to the dynamic.
Oh yeah, the scoring. Yeah,
fun for scoring. But no, I was just looking and I was like, oh, how funny is that? The league I click on is the only one of my 72 leagues where I'm winless. I'm on these IDP FF7s or whatever, and I'm winless because I didn't know it was an IDP league. You'd think the IDP, but like I said, I didn't see the title. I'm working, and so I'm getting the notifications on Sleeper, and I'm just going. It kind of like click. Enter the draft. Oh, here's the best guy available. We'll take him. Next thing I know, I'm like 10 rounds in without an IDP. But
yeah, I've been there.
I did. You know what I learned today? Besides, I spent the day doing Pokemon Go with my kid for the majority, maybe 2 to 5 today. You know what I learned? I witnessed the greatest magic trick in the history of the world today.
What is that?
My 9-year-old. So he walked in. I'm on my computer in my bedroom. He's at my doorway. And he's got the blanket from the couch, and he's got it in front of him, and he goes, Dad, I'm going to make myself disappear. So the plan is to go like this with the blanket, and as he throws it in and it comes down, he runs off, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Throws the blanket in the air, turns and runs, right into the fucking wall, right onto the ground. I'm sitting, holy shit, Jesse! I've never laughed so hard in my life. Once I realized
poor kid,
dead or hadn't knocked himself unconscious, holy shit! So he focused so hard on making sure that he threw the blanket high enough that when he took off running, bam, right into the fucking wall.
Oh man, yeah, my daughter has done stuff like that. She's pretty active for a 4-year-old, and she wants to be like tossed around the bed all the time. And she just like jumped and like ran right into the freaking into our basically whatever it's called, stuff with all the clothes, and I can't talk right now. The cabinet. It is just like a disaster. I was like, oh yeah, this is fun. This is going real well. So I know what you're talking
about. Fucking kids, man. Fucking kids. So. All right, I guess we can get into it. Let's start with the Thursday nighter. We'll be quick. We never got into it. KC moves to 5-1, beating Denver 19-8. Solid day for Mahomes, but not spectacular. 20 points is not a great day for him. Dog shit for Russ at 10. We got Pacheco was good at 15.5. Javonte at 7. McLaughlin at 6. Both of them kind of killed each other and were useless. The wide receiver side, we got 14 from Sutton. No really useful guys other than that on Denver. Rashee Rice continuing to slowly break out at 11.
Mm-hmm.
Tony actually showed up kind of for 9 points. We got Kelsey, no surprise, leading the way, just under 27. Butker at 17. And the Chiefs defense at 15. The Broncos sucked at 6. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't know what to do with the Broncos. It's pretty much a disaster. Like they're just mucking it up with Javonte and Jaleel, Samaje.
Sutton seems like a decent 3.
Yeah, he's been the best of the bunch, but yeah, he got a touchdown, kind of saved his big because otherwise that's not a great game. But yeah, like Rice is the wide receiver we've been talking about the past few weeks. So he's the wide receiver I want. I mean, Pacheco, he's taking over that bell cow role in that offense. As you can see, he had 22 opportunities and the rest of the backfield had what? 8. So 22 out of 30 opportunities. That's really good. Like we love seeing stuff like that. So yeah, that's a good sign for him. And yeah, like Mahomes has been a little disappointing and like you guys are going to hit on that in the fantasy court a little bit, but you know, he still just gives you a super high floor, so I'm not too worried about Mahomes. And
Yes.
Kelsey's just eternal, right? So it's just Kelsey every time.
Premise of Fantasy Court this week is that with his current limited wide receiver room, and actually I think it's improving because I like Rashee Rice more than most, but with his current limited wide receivers, Mahomes is nothing more than a mid-range QB1, which is ironic because I thought, that's kind of a dumb premise. How are the Bills 3-2? Anyways, I like that's kind of a dumb premise. He's obviously a top 3 quarterback, but the guy who was arguing with Jeremy, his evidence of why Mahomes is the top as a top 3 quarterback or top 1 quarterback, whatever he said, was to show his weekly finishes so far. And if you add up those weekly finishes, he averages out to be quarterback 8.6. So pretty much exactly what Jeremy said. So I was like, well, yeah, I guess with this, this is kind of limited his ceiling. Like he's more consistent than anyone, and it's just he's not really having those 35, 40-point blow-up games that a lot of the others are. But that's another story for another day. I believe that one is Wednesday live at 10 a.m. If you want to come back and check that out, that will be the People's Fantasy Court. Dennis Michelson will argue with Jeremy Shulman on the Patrick Mahomes debate. If you join the comments, if we got enough people, you guys can act as a jury. If not, I will be the judge and I will decide the winner.
I like that. Yeah, jury, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I was hoping some people get in there enough that I can post a poll and have an actual jury, but we'll see. The London game, Baltimore squeaks one out against Tennessee, 24-16. Another quarterback with a middling day for Lamar. Tannehill got knocked out. 2 points for him, 5 for Willis. They both suck. Derrick Henry finally came back to life. He had 20. Tyjae Spears was the next best running back at 8. Both Ravens running backs had 6. We got 17 for Zay Flowers, who is yet another rookie that I love in this class. I bet when I started my rookie prep, I was JSN Quentin Johnson the whole way. If you had told me we'd get to week 6, almost week 7, and my 3 favorite rookies would be, 4, I guess, would be Flowers, Addison, Mims, and Rice, I would have called you crazy, but I love the 4 of them. But so Flowers is really the only receiver on either team that did anything. D-Hop dropped a bomb, 3 points, 1 for 5, 20 yards. Kyle Phillips, negative 0.4 after muffing the kick punt return there and possibly costing his team the game.
That was bad.
Tight end, we have just under 13 from Andrews. Nobody else doing anything of value. Both kickers were good. The Ravens defense were all right. The Titans defense was worth 5. Apparently that's a hit. I'll disagree. I had this conversation with a management member this week that said, it's all right. The article does numbers. Let's just let it go. Drives me fucking nuts. Anyways, we've digressed.
All right, yeah. 5 points.
What do you think about this one? Yeah.
This is just an ugly game, to be real. So, like, Lamar did his best to carry that offense, but you have these backfield where it's just completely spitting the work. I mean, Edwards had twice as many, like, attempts, but he didn't do anything with them. And, yeah, the backfield is just – I want no part of that backfield. It's just too ugly to determine. At least we got a game from Henry where he showed off he still has it. He's not completely cooked like people were talking about. He was the entire offense for Tennessee in this game. They couldn't do anything on the passing, so it was Henry. And then on the other side, you had Flowers and Andrews, which seems like those are the 2 guys in the offense that you want. And outside of that, like, Tajay kind of let us down. He didn't really have a good game. And, yeah, I don't know what to do with this Tennessee wide receiver core. It's really gross outside of Hopkins. Like, they're just – are they NFL wide receivers? Maybe. I don't know. It's just that bad. So, yeah, it's not kind of sucks for that offense in general. They're a bottom 5 team, like, at least.
Did you know as far as streaming tight ends, I am 98% accurate at predicting streaming tight ends. They are all a hit for me. Granted, my hit rate is anything over 0.5 points. So if any tight end puts up 1 point, I'm deeming them a hit in my projection. And so I'm a 98% at projecting tight ends because I am tight end Jesus. Thank you very
Hey.
much. Come to me for more advice.
Which makes Chig and Josh Wiley the backup a hit this week. So, we're doing good
Well,
things.
I had Wiley as a miss, so his 2
Oh,
points cost me. He was one of the 2%. Motherfucker. Nah, I'm fucking with you. All right. Washington pulls one out here in an ugly-ass game, 24-16 over Atlanta. Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder are both somehow being decent for fantasy, despite the fact that Ritter's really, really bad in real football. 300 yards, and he only puts up 23 points because of the 3 interceptions. Howell was much safer with the ball, only threw for 151 yards, though. Both were decent this week, I guess. We have the Robinsons here. The brothers Robinson. Anyways, they both put up 13. They are both being limited by someone else. Tyler Algier, Antonio Gibson, just being a big pain in the ass for the Robinsons. Drake London, another good one. We had him come up in the start sit this morning, and I said I think we should go with him, and we got lucky, and he worked out. Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin were both decent at 14. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with Jahan Dotson. It turns out Van Jefferson didn't actually matter, and the Falcons may be the only team that has not one but 2 starting tight ends on the roster. As Kyle Pitts puts up 16, Jonnu puts up basically 16, and Logan Thomas has his first dud of the season, basically. Kickers both sucked. Youngwei Koo has been terrible, and yet people continue to start him. I'm sure I've done the numbers here. I haven't really looked at them for my started fantasy points article. I bet you Youngwei Koo was started in 99% of leagues again. The defenses, Washington was a hit at 10, and Atlanta put up 5, and they're a bust. What are your thoughts? I said a bust.
Yeah, they definitely did not live up to it. But Youngwei is interesting, I think, just because it's a name factor. People think he has a cool name, so they're just going to keep going back to him.
I stand corrected. I brought up my chart right after I said that. People have adjusted. He's gone over the last 3 weeks because we're talking kicker. That's 97% to 82%. He was only 62% started. 67% started this week. So
they're catching on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to see. The fun fact with this is they threw the ball 47 times in Atlanta. I never thought that would happen with Desmond Ridder as quarterback, but
I noticed that because it's only 28 completion.
That's an absurd number of pass attempts for Desmond Ridder. Howell had half as many pass attempts and put up the similar number of points, right? It's just Washington was good.
If you're Arthur Smith and your quarterback's Desmond Ridder and your running back's Bijan Robinson, what goes through your head that says I want to throw it 47 fucking times and give Bijan 13 carries? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's weird. They featured Tyler Algier a little bit, and people were pissed off. But if you look at Bijan, he had 21 opportunities over the course of the that's fine. 21 opportunities in the course of the season. That's 357 opportunities. That's a top 5 running back, easy. So people need to chill out with the Bijan. Yeah, exactly. I don't care how many rushing attempts he gets. If he gets 8 targets, it does not matter. He's so nice. It's whatever. But yeah, it's nice to see when you give an offense that many pass attempts, good things happen for the wide receivers, right? London, Pitts, Jonnu, Bijan, all double digits.
He's second behind London in targets. That's nice.
That's wild. But I love to see it. That's a Austin Eckler game, right? Where he's just so involved. And yeah, I don't know what to do with Jahan Dotson. He just dropped 1 redraft. You can't depend on him. And I don't know why they're doing this, but Eric Bieniemy's got his weird. I just don't get it. It's just it's not working too well for Washington. But hey, they're 500, so congrats to them. Something's working, I guess.
You know what I think it is? Sam Howell's not the most talented of quarterbacks. It can sometimes he throws deep really well, but he's prone to turnovers. So I think they're trying to rein him in and make more safe throws. And the safe guys on the field are the 2 old guys in Logan Thomas and Curtis Samuel running short routes, where Dotson's running tougher routes to hit. He's got to make better throws, so he's just not looking at Dotson. It's like Zach Wilson for the longest time. Garrett Wilson last year was running some tougher routes, and Zach just couldn't make the throws, so he wasn't looking that way. I think that's what's going on here. I don't think Howell can I don't think he can throw to the routes Dotson is running, so.
It's entirely possible because he's not that good of a quarterback. So, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm on board with that. Interestingly enough, if you look at the yardage total in this game and what Washington did, they did basically nothing on offense. 151 passing yards, and they had basically 60 rushing yards. So they barely had over 200 yards. It's the defensive turnovers that really saved their bacon in this game and really forced Atlanta into passing so much because they were chasing the entire game. It's just a very weird game. This is what it looks like.
Another weird game, Minnesota-Chicago. I did not see this as a defensive struggle, but 19-13 for the Vikings over the Bears. Kirk Cousins sucked. 10 points, lost the fumble. I don't know why he sucks so much, but Justin Fields leaves to a thumb injury. X-rays are negative. He puts up six. Tyson Bagent out of Shepherd. He was one of the guys in my off-season lab reports. He was one of the higher graded quarterbacks for me in this class. The problem is nobody knew who the fuck he was, so it was kind of a Julius Chestnut situation for me all over again. The guy I liked had no fucking clout whatsoever. It'd be nice if he ever got an actual shot because I think he was pretty talented. He put up 7, just under. He didn't look great in this game, but first ever start, that happens. Running backs, we see Madison, who only manages to put up 11, 44 yards on 18 carries. He sucks. Pretty much every running back on both teams sucked. Darrington Evans got me 4.4 points where I was forced to start him, so yay me. We have 7.5 for Deontay Foreman. Akers sucked. Addison was just under 12, which is kind of disappointing by himself. 3 for 28 and a touchdown. Touchdown bails him out. DJ Moore puts up 10 because he was not bailed out by a touchdown. We have a whole bunch of guys here. Mooney and Osborne and Cowell and blah, 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 doing little to nothing in the 5 to 8 point range. TJ Hawkinson was solid, 6 for 50, 14 points. Komet disappointed with 2 for 9. Kickers were both not great, not terrible. Minnesota's defense was awesome, and the Bears' defense was startable. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is just another weird game like we're talking about. Fields dislocated his thumb, so there could be some implications for Fields after this game. I'm not sure if it's his throwing hand. I think it might be. So FYI, this offense could be a shit show without Justin Fields. If they're depending on Tyson Bagent, I get it. He was my QB8, I think, of the rookies, but let's be real, QB8's not good. So yeah, and you saw kind of what happened. They were super limited, and they put up a combined 180 yards of offense today. So yeah, neither team could do much. We saw Cousins without Jefferson, just how important Jefferson is to that offense. And yeah, the bummer is Deontay Foreman. He did not get all of the work like everybody thought he was gonna. So he's a pretty big letdown this week because I know a lot of people were counting on him as an RB2, and it did not work out. It's just sometimes the game scripts and just turnovers, and yeah. Darrington Evans, he was a former 3rd-round pick and a solid prospect. So, the guy's not bad. And he played a decent role.
The carries were more like a 60-40 split, and the targets were dead even. That's scary. So
yeah, not good.
This one was not great all around. There were a lot of weird games this week. Lots of upsets. Only a few games that actually made sense. We had a lot. I feel like it was a lot lower scoring this week, but yeah, move on here to another game that had high scoring potential, but was low scoring. Cincy beats Seattle 17-13. Burrow wasn't terrible. He wasn't great. He put up 19 points, 24 for 185, 2 touchdowns and a pick. What are the Bills celebrating? Anyways, Geno Smith, I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. 27 for 323 and 2 interceptions. That stat line doesn't quite add up. I'm not sure why he threw for that many. This league must heavily punish interceptions. That's a really weird number to see. Anyways, Ken Walker was good again. 62 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches. 18 points. Joe Mixon was not great. 9 points, 12 carries for 38 yards. Nobody else in the backfields really did anything. We have 6 decent wide receivers, 4 that were above average and 2 that were not terrible. Andre Yoshivas and JSN had probably their best games of the season as rookies. 4 for 48 for JSN. Yoshivas, it was all on a touchdown. Lockett had 15, DK had 11, Tyler Boyd had 17, and Jamar Chase had 14. So it wasn't terrible from anyone here. Higgins was the disappointing one. He had 4. And Bobo only had 6. I started him in 1 or 2 leagues because of this asshole I knew who told me to start him. I didn't start it. I just wanted to take a cheap shot at you. The tight ends were
I was
useless.
gonna say, hold on.
No. I'm just fucking. The tight ends were useless. The kickers were almost useless. The Bengals defense wasn't terrible, and the Seahawks defense was. This is kind of a messy game unless you had Burrow, Ken Walker, or a receiver. But even the receivers didn't kill you, but all of them were slightly disappointing. I guess Boyd overperformed and Lockett kind of got back on track, but I think everyone else was disappointing. I'm glad I don't watch.
It was a weird game. So the Seahawks were trailing the entire time. That's why they had so many attempts and so many yards. They had 5 red zone trips and only got 10 points out of it. So they kept trailing, kept getting down. They just couldn't score. Like I watched this game. Geno was under constant pressure. Burrow was under constant pressure. Like the line struggled. It was just an ugly game where the defenses were just better. And they forced turnovers and they just neither offense could really seal it. So it just kind of led on. Kind of like the Atlanta game, same situation where they're trailing, they get so many more attempts and stuff like that. It was ugly and it was frustrating to watch. Like Seattle had a ton of chances to win this game and they just blew it. But yeah, like sometimes this happens, man. Like Geno had 41 pass attempts, Burrow at 35, but you would expect both of them to be way more productive from a fantasy standpoint. But yeah, Mixon's just always inefficient, so it kind of is what it is. But yeah, Walker's the takeaway. Like Walker's a stud. He had another touchdown. It's just like this offense seems to revolve around Ken Walker. So like he should be a middling RB1, if not higher, like the rest of the season. He's just been really
I'd like to point out that this is our 5th game we're on to, and in 4 of the 5, you started out with, yeah, this was just a weird game.
Yes. They can't figure it out, man. I don't know. Like it was like game. You're talking about. Yeah,
this was a weird game. Every game is a weird game.
They were ugly, just so ugly. And the next game too, same shit.
That's how you know it's always like that when you see by about 2:00 you see the tweets coming in from other analysts saying, "Man, week 6 is drunk."
Mm-hmm. Yep, you know it.
So we've got the drunkest of the drunk. The Browns squeak one out against the previously undefeated, unbeatable-looking team. 19-17 over the Niners. Good God, did these quarterback stats look terrible. P.J. Walker did what we would expect from an XFL quarterback and put up 6, but Brock Purdy also looked like he belonged in the XFL, and I think this is the first time we've seen Brock Purdy in the regular season be put in a spot where he had to actually win a game and couldn't just be a Jimmy Garoppolo game manager. And when it was put on his shoulders, he turned into Jimmy Garoppolo and threw the game away. McCaffrey left with injury, came back, and then left again. He had a great game with 14 points. Well, not great by his standards, but pretty solid. It was going to be better without the injury. Kareem Hunt, I didn't even know he was playing. He put up 16, so that was surprising. I'm surprised they didn't go to him before this because I'm not all that big on Jerome Ford, who put up 11. Jordan Mason put up 9. We've got the receivers here. 16 for Cooper. Not much else on the Browns side. 12 for Ayuk. Not much else on the Niners side. Devo was hugely disappointing. 1.1. He left with an injury. I assume it was pretty early based on the stat line. Otherwise, he was just uninvolved. Kittle crashed down to earth and did nothing. David Njoku with 7 did nothing. Dustin Hopkins had a good game. Jake Moody did not after I recommended him in the start-sit show, so you're welcome. And both defenses sucked. Somehow it was a 19-17 game, and both DSTs did not score many points. Not even sure how that's possible. What do you think about this one? And don't tell me it was a good game.
Injuries. So Debo left really early in the game with a shoulder injury, and that's going to linger for a while. And then McCaffrey had an oblique injury, and I tweeted out, take my oblique, McCaffrey. I don't need it like everybody does, right? Because he was on fire. He was going off. He got the early touchdown, and then he got injured, and the game pretty much changed from that point forward. The offense struggled. So you just see how important McCaffrey is, and particularly losing Debo on top of it, that's like a 1-2 punch where you're just losing 2 of the best, difference makers in the NFL, and it had a huge effect. But you're playing one of the best defenses in Cleveland Browns. Like, these are 2 of the best defenses, and they showed out and really just thwarted these offenses. But, it's PJ Walker. I'm watching the Giants game, yeah.
Was that just a direct snap to Barkley, or are the Giants running Barkley out of the Wildcat?
I did not see that play, but now I'm going
to. It might have just been a direct snap, but I could swear they were running Wildcat with Barkley.
Oh, yep, they just direct snapped it. Yep, you're right. You're not kidding. Yeah. So I'm curious to see how much they feature Barkley, which is going to be interesting because he's injured and whatnot. But we'll see. They have nobody else, so they'll probably get 30 touches.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cooper getting 100 yards with PJ Walker is really impressive. But you see the rest of the guys on this team, like anybody that's an ancillary option with PJ Walker takes a direct hit. Like Elijah Moore did basically nothing. Marquise Goodwin, David Njoku. You have to be with backup quarterbacks. You have to be the number one option. Otherwise, it's just you immediately take a massive hit, and that's what happened.
Next up, the Saints somehow managed to lose to the Texans 20-13. Both quarterbacks were average, 19 and 19. Carr threw for more yards but had a turnover. Where's the difference here? Oh, it's the extra touchdown for CJ Stroud. That's what did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Kamara, another great game. He's fucking awesome. 17 points. Nobody else on the Saints backfield did anything. The leading rusher for Houston here was Devin Singletary, who split the carries pretty much 50-50 with Pierce. Pierce was averaging, just under, looks like 2.7, 2.8 per carry, and Pierce averaged more like 4.1, but my math is not the greatest sometimes. Well, no, it is pretty good. But anyway, so that I did not see coming. Rashid Shaheed is the leading Saints receiver with 19. We got 17 for Olave, 10 for Michael Thomas, so they spread the ball around. They were all decent. None of them killed you. Rashid probably helped you. Nico Collins had a decent week. A touchdown would have helped him, but he put up 12. Robert Woods, Noah Brown, Hutchinson, nobody really did anything there. Tight ends, Taysom Hill. For fuck's sakes. Taysom Hill, 7 catches for 49 yards. Okay, so he had 8 targets.
That's insane for Taysom Hill.
He has 6 targets, 10. So he was tied for second on the team in targets, and somehow the guy who had the least targets on the team led the team in points because must have broke loose for a long touchdown. But anyways, So we get 16 from Taysom Hill, 18 for Schultz, who's had a good game in 2 out of 3, I believe. Foster Moreau also had 9. He's been usable. Both kickers sucked. Defenses kind of sucked. I guess Houston for 10 wasn't terrible if you had to stream them, but so New Orleans wide receivers and New Orleans offensive players put up good numbers despite the fact that they only put up 13 points and managed to lose. So
yeah,
I'm not sure what to take away from this. This one's all muddied up all over.
Yeah, 50 pass attempts for Derek Carr compared to 27 for CJ Stroud. So that tells you exactly how the game went.
The guy with an injured shoulder is 50 pass attempts. I know.
Yeah, so I guess he's back to being healthy because they were slinging it. They just couldn't do anything. It's gross. Like, I watched some of this game too. Kamara is the central piece. So yeah, Kendrick Miller is pretty much not going to do anything. It looks like in redraft. So I hate to break it to y'all, but Kendrick Miller might be a 24 play. But this year, it's just not happening for Kendrick Miller. Kamara is too good, which was kind of the concern coming in, right? But, Olave, 10 targets, that's always good. You love seeing that. And interesting enough, we talked about Schultz this morning. I was like, listen, they have nobody else to throw the ball to, and he actually did pretty good. So, 16 points, I will take that for Schultz against the Saints defense, who is really good against tight ends. So that was just, really good to see. But, sometimes they just took it easy. Houston really controlled the game, and they didn't really need to pass a ton. So that might be the lowest pass attempts for CJ Stroud in his career, Lacey. Yep, that's the lowest by far. So shocking. They dominated time possession and won it. So, good on Houston for winning it, and New Orleans couldn't do it. But, yeah, you can see the difference of just way more offensive plays for the Saints and how that translates to fantasy. On the flip side, I don't know what to do with Pierce. I was looking at his stats while you're talking. He hasn't averaged 4 yards per carry in a single game, and he's been 2.6, 3.3, 3.3, 2.1, 2.0, and 3.4. So he's been awful this year with them. So I guess it's no surprise they're going to try to feature Singletary and see how it goes because
at the end of the game, someone in my league, not this league, the other one, put him on the trade block, and I thought, it's a rebuilding team. I'll go buy low, see if I can go buy low on it. And then I clicked on him, I'm looking through it, I'm going, I know what this guy's going to want, and I'm going, he's going to want a late first or a mid to early second, and I'm going, I don't even know if I want a mid second for Dameon Pierce. And I didn't send anything because
that's like Miles Sanders where people are trying to trade him right now. I'm like, just don't. You're not going to get anything for him. He's just been bad in a timeshare. Like, you just don't. It's just got to hold.
Jacksonville 37, Indy 20. This is another game where you look at the score, and I'm surprised by the quarterback numbers. Just under 20 for Trevor Lawrence, who looked like he was pretty solid here, but didn't. We got a lot of QBs who were just average, but didn't really, it was kind of a lot of low-scoring game management. But with 37 points on the board, I know where it all went. It went to Travis Etienne, but we have 15 from Gardner Minshew, 3 interceptions, and 1 fumble lost. Good God, that's how you turn 329 passing yards into 15 fantasy points. 55 passing attempts. Good God, they're going to sling it with Gardner Minshew. The problem is he's not any good as Tyrod Taylor gets sacked. Running backs, we got Zach Moss. I didn't see this, and I'm glad he did good. I told my cousin to start him, so I don't remember who his other option was, but I feel like Zach Moss with 18 points was probably the right call.
Oh, Rashad White. We talked about this morning. We were like Moss or White. And we're like, oh yeah, let's go Moss.
Tampa's the last game, so we'll see. My curiosity, where is it?
Yeah,
Tampa got 6 points. So yeah. Call.
Yeah, good call. We made a good call on that one.
It was an extra 10 points. It's funny though, because we had that debate and I was talking and I said, no, you got to go Rashad White. And the more I talked, I convinced myself that it was Zach Moss, and it was Zach Moss. But so Moss puts up 18, just under 13 for Taylor, which scares me because the carries were even here. The targets were even. This is not going to be this way. And the more Taylor produces, the more it's going to swing. So I'm thinking maybe one more week out of Moss. Trade him now if you can. People are thinking this is 2 weeks. It's going to be a 50-50. Nope. Trade him now. If people think that, if you find someone dumb enough to believe that, trade him. We got Etienne, who had 23 points. All of it, well, not all of it. Most of it was on 2 rushing touchdowns. The receivers, we had 21 for Pittman, who I love. He's been awesome. Josh Downs for 13. Pierce for 5.5. Ridley for 6.5. And Kirk for 14. What a shame Ridley sucked. Disappointing. Tight ends, we had 3 useful tight ends here. 15 for Engram, 12 for Strange, and 12 for Granson. Granson's someone who's going to be in my waiver wire article for tight end. Let me look. I feel like he's had some solid games. Oh, no, he didn't. Okay. So he's had a couple of 12 and 9. So he's either a total bomb or he's a 12-pointer. So I felt like he was producing better, but I guess not. Both kickers were decent. Jags defense was good. Colts defense killed you if you started them. And I'm sure a lot of people did. What do you think about this one besides that it's weird?
Yeah, like you're talking about the backfield split, like that's the takeaway. It's going to be like that for like you're talking about, and it's going to slowly keep increasing in Jonathan Taylor's favor. But if you have Moss, you just keep rolling him out there until it proves otherwise, because he's been good. And if they're passing at this absurd amount of rate, like look at the targets that went to the running backs. Like that's what you love to see. That's 13 targets combined. So that's what we love to see out of 55 times. Yeah, exactly. Like that's still a decent chunk. It's not terrible, but it's like enough to get you by. Pittman, stud. No surprise, the backup quarterbacks hyper target their wide receiver ones in offense. So shocker. Pittman with 14 freaking targets, right? It's interesting with Kirk and Ridley that basically the difference is a touchdown, and that's what did it for Kirk compared to Ridley. He got the touchdown, Ridley didn't. But these two are just back to back. It kind of seems to shake out different time each way. So no surprise if Ridley gets more points next week. You can't really separate them. They're basically like solid wide receiver 2s for you in an offense, which sucks for the Ridley Hive, but that's kind of what it is. But it's solid, just, it's not great. And then for Granson, his snap share kind of sucks, so he needs to be efficient. So I don't know what to do with him, but yeah. I have him on a couple dynasty rosters, and I'm like, yeah, I want that snap share to increase, and it never just does. So hopefully it gets kicking in the right way, but I just don't know. Because they probably got Ogletree and Mo Alley Cox just blocking a bunch, to tell you the truth.
Sorry, I'm just flipping through the stats here, trying to see if anything that stands out to me. I think Moss, at this point, you just start Moss, and you hope that when it comes crashing down, it's not the week where you need him to not drop a dud. And then when he finally does drop that dud, hopefully it didn't cost you, and you just put him on the bench, and you never think about him again. But for now, I guess just play him. Play him until it backfires. We were doing that with Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua, and I didn't see Puka's stat line today, but as of now, looks like it hasn't happened there. So just keep playing Zach Moss until the wheels fall off, I suppose. Miami, 42-21, which is impressive because when I turned this off, it was either 14-0 or 21-0 Carolina. So to be outscored 42-7 the last half of the game, that's impressive. So Tua, he has 262 yards, 3 TDs for 30 points. Trying to think of who I told him. I suggested Tua over someone, but I can't remember who it was.
Was it Fields?
It was Fields. Good God, was that the right call? Wow, I got lucky sometimes, man. I'm not even going to victory lap that because Fields was out, but holy shit. Right. Hope someone listened to me. I've been doing good pretty rather lately with these sit-start shows. I'm on fire, man. I can't say the same about my prop picks, but that's another story. Bryce Young, 15 points. That's probably a career day. Not saying much. We have 35 points for Raheem Mostert, who's going to single-handedly win me a half dozen championships this year at this rate. I drafted him everywhere in the 15th round, and he put up 115 yards and 2 touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. Thank you, Raheem Mostert. Salvon Ahmed was also decent with, the touchdown. Chuba wasn't bad. I know we said to start Chuba in a few leagues. 86 yards and a tutty for 16 points. That ain't bad. Thielen, I love it. It's another one we talked about pre-show where I just have some of these old players that nobody wanted. Adam Thielen was my guy, and this was one player profiler. He was there. Everybody avoid this fucking guy. They made fun of me all offseason because my theory was if I get to the last round of my draft and Adam Thielen's still on the board, I'm taking Adam Thielen. So I have a ton of Adam Thielen, a ton of Raheem Mostert, and I like my teams right now. I'm sure it'll come crashing down, but so Thielen, 115 and a touchdown for 29. Tyreek Hill, 163 and a touchdown for 31. Jalen Waddle also put up 18. Not a great yardage day, but 7 for 51 and 1 touchdown is not bad. Nobody else on the receiving core really did much. Mingo's been hugely disappointing, getting beaten out by ancient Adam Thielen, but no tight ends were useful. Tommy Trumbull had 2 for 25. No kickers were useful. No defenses were useful. So this looks like it's one quarterback and a running back and 2 receivers that were useful, and everybody else killed your team. Started anyone in this mess.
Yeah, this is why you want the backup running back with the Dolphins. So like why Jeff Wilson was a waiver wire target. Because look at Chris Brooks did. He gave you like when I'm looking at my score, or not Chris Brooks, sorry. Salvon Ahmed gave you 12 points when I'm my scoring. It's just like you want any running back in that Dolphins offense because if anybody goes down, Mostert's an older back.
It's a system.
And do massive. Yeah, that's what it is. Like so
doesn't matter. It's like the 49ers. I mean, McCaffrey's like awesome, but that's why Elijah Mitchell was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're good. Like it's good, especially when you add like the talent into the situation and those things hit. Like that's just money, right? But yeah, it's just perfect for Mostert. He's gonna dominate as long as Achan's out and as long as Wilson's not playing because they're just too good. And then look at Hubbard doing his thing, like we talked about Hubbard this morning. So props to him for like living up and doing it. And then on the flip side, Thielen, like this, it's really interesting how these offenses are so concentrated around these assets, like the running backs, the 2 wide receivers on Miami, and Thielen. Thielen's a locked-in wide receiver 1 moving forward until we see change. And given that wide receiver core, I don't know why we would just keep going with Thielen. He's by far your best option. They're scheming him targets, and he's like top 10 in first read looks. So he's very much a central point of that offense moving forward, which is bonkers because he's 34 years old.
I'm looking up an article here on the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree because we were talking about the system there with Miami and San Francisco, and I forget who it was, but there's another coach where it's not LaFleur in the Jets. It might be D'Amico. No. Who else? There's Robert Saleh in the Jets. Anyways, there was a third coach from that coaching tree who's a coordinator or a coach somewhere else in the NFL, and their team is running the same system as the 49ers and the Dolphins, and they have been almost equally as efficient, and it's kind of gone under the radar, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was. Who's on bye? It's not Packers. This is going to bother me. I'm going to have to get into it later, but there's another team running this same run offense, like the outside zone run offense, and they've been really good with it, and it's going very unnoticed, but I can't for the life of me. Houston's the one that stands out, but it can't be Houston because Dameon Pierce has been fucking awful. Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who it.
I don't know who it is.
Yeah, now I'm blanking on it. Like we should know this. Yeah, I'm like looking at it real quick right now.
I heard it on a podcast earlier this week, and I looked up the numbers, and I was like, damn, they're not kidding. They're running the same offense, same type of plays, and the running backs are really looking good in it. But anyways, we've digressed. We'll move on to the next game because that's just going to annoy me. Look at this one. Got the Raiders beating the Patriots 21-17. Good God, Bill Belichick, time to hang it up. Two quarterbacks combined didn't put up 20 points. Jimmy G doubles up Mac Jones 12-8. 12-7, whatever, however you want to round that, sorry. Good God, look at these numbers. 14 for 162, a touchdown and a pick for Jimmy. 24 for 200 and an interception for Mac Jones. The running backs were decent. Stevenson had probably his best day of the season, 18 points. 11 for both Jacobs and Zeke. The receivers. Somehow these two receivers, in Kendrick Bourne, who put up 19, and Jacoby Myers, who put up 17, somehow they had useful days, which is impressive because they have no quarterback. Trey Tucker put up 9, most of which was on a long play where they had Devontae Adams bracketed, and Trey Tucker just outran everyone for a deep ball. So he's not really someone I'm all that keen on. Henry has fallen right off the map on the tight end streamers. We have Gesicki, 3 for 28. Michael Mayer is a guy I'm stashing everywhere, and he will be in the waiver wire ads for redraft. He has 5 for 75, and he had a touchdown. Was it called back?
It might have been.
It must have been because I seen it. I don't see if he stepped out or if it was on. I think he stepped out maybe, but he's someone where his usage is starting to increase, and I think Mayer's about to explode. He's looking good. Carlson was all right. Chad Ryland was not. Both defenses sucked. The Patriots were largely disappointing. What are your thoughts on this besides how bad the Pats are?
It's so nice to see Ramondre actually put up like fantasy-worthy game. And like a lot of that's a touchdown, right? Because then you take that away, it's like a 10-point game. But still, it just shows like the volume and usage is there. And even on a bad offense, and as frustrating as it is, Zeke's taking part of it, you still want Ramondre. It's been gross, but he's been fine. So that's nice to see, like, against the worst teams, the Raiders, like, he can survive. And, yeah, like, Jacoby's just been a stud, and he continues to produce and continue to – even with Adams, it doesn't matter. Like, Jacoby is a locked-in wide receiver, too, from here until the end of the season. So if you have him on your team, you're loving life. Adams has struggled a lot the last few weeks, so that kind of sucks. But he has 9 targets combined in the last 2 games.
Shit knocked right out of him, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, he got blasted, so I don't know if that had something to do with it or what, but it was a freaking hospital ball from Garoppolo, which he throws those, and it's goddamn, like, you see it coming, you're like, fuck, and he got blasted.
You know what? It wasn't even necessarily, I guess it was a hospital ball, but, like, it was a clean hit. Like, it was just, he lowered it, shoulder to chest, and just blew him up. Like, it was a beautiful tackle, but fuck, he got lit.
Jimmy just puts his receivers in bad positions sometimes, and that's like this is what he did to Kittle the year before we got him injured. And I was like, God damn it, like Garoppolo. He does it every once in a while. He'll just leave balls high, and the wide receiver will get blasted going forward. But yeah, that's part of it. It is what it is. And yeah, like you're saying, Mayer will be like majority of people will be talking about him as like the waiver wire tight end target because he's involved and he's seen targets. Snap shares have gone up. It took him a little bit longer than it did, Laporta and whatever, but he's a good player, man.
All righty. The Jets upset the Eagles 20-14, blowing their undefeated streak. We have Zach Wilson, who sucked in the win and put up 11. He's not fantasy relevant. Jalen Hurts put up 25 points, but I'll tell you one thing, that fantasy total was great for fantasy. He cost them the game in real life. He was shit. Every time he needed to do something, he threw an interception. 28 for 45, but he had 280, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks. He was terrible. DeAndre Swift put up 18. He didn't look as good as he used to, or he did earlier in the season. The touchdown really saved him. 10 carries for 18 yards is gross. He did it mostly through the air. Breece Hall had 20 points. Another one where it wasn't a great day. He was bailed out by the touchdown and some receptions. No other running backs were useful. A.J. Brown was awesome. That's 5 straight games of 125 yards or more. Garrett Wilson was pretty damn solid for a Zach Wilson-led team. Devontae Smith had a couple of dropped ones or misconnected on a couple of deep balls, so he only had 9 points. 5 for 11. That tells you how inaccurate Jalen Hurts was today. 44 yards only. Dallas Goedert, 5 catches for 42 yards. He was okay. Tyler Conklin was not. Greg Zuerlein was good. Jake Elliott sucked. Eagles defense was pretty bad, and the Jets defense was surprising because of some turnovers and a low score. What are your thoughts here besides how bad Jalen Hurts was?
So it's gonna be fun to watch a pissed off Jalen Hurts, and the Eagles offense really just
Miami?
destroy teams coming up. Yeah, like they're going to go to town on teams. So like,
They got
Hurts
Miami
was terrible.
next
You're
week.
right. So yeah, that should be a fun game where lots of points should be scored. But yeah, if they're throwing it 45 times in Philadelphia, you know it's good news for the wide receivers. And there was a play for Devonta Smith where he literally jumped. He didn't need to. He dropped it. It was a little off target, but should have caught it. And there was nobody within 15 yards of him. He should have been able to go like 50 yards a touchdown. So yeah, he could have had a lot better day too. But yeah, we had our running backs doing good things. He wasn't the most efficient, but they got touchdowns, and honestly, that's all that matters. And Garrett Wilson, he's being supported by Zach Wilson. So like, as long as Zach Wilson is giving Garrett Wilson this type of game, you can live with this because this is good, and you're more than happy. And Goddard didn't kill you. He wasn't great, but he didn't kill you. So that's what happens when you have 45 pass attempts for the Eagles. So I'm curious who they play after that. They got Miami, Washington, Dallas. So yeah, they're going to put up a lot of points the next 2 weeks. So I'm excited to watch this offense because it's going to be fun.
Rams 26, Cardinals 9. Both quarterbacks not great. Stafford didn't kill you, 15 points. Josh Dobbs puts up his second straight dud. Kyron Williams, 21.8, 158 yards and a touchdown, left with injury. Hopefully he's okay. The Cardinals' backfield was spread out. Ingram led the way with Damian Williams, and DeMarcado was almost useless. He had 2 carries and one target. So he was terrible. All that waiver money or fab money wasted on him. We have Cooper Kupp with just under 29. He had 7 for 148 and a touchdown. Michael Wilson was okay with 3 for 62. Hollywood Brown, 4 for 34. And Puka Nacua has probably his worst game in the season by a lot with 4 for 26. That scares me because I've seen now in 2 games with Cooper Kupp back, Cooper Kupp is going to get his. It looks to me so far that Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams are going to alternate who gets theirs and who drops a dud. Last week, Puka got his. This week, Kyron Williams got his.
Yeah, it's interesting that Dobbs is finally becoming a pumpkin because people are starting to buy in, and he's like, guess what? I'm a pumpkin. I'm not a good quarterback, and we're seeing that. So, unfortunately, if you have Dobbs, you might want to start looking elsewhere because he's been bad in 2 straight matchups, and it's really not going to get any better because he's going to get Seattle and Baltimore the next 2 weeks. So that's going to be trouble, and this offense gets sucked because of it. So, yeah. And during DeMarcado, I was excited to see what he would do this week, and he shit the bed. So I apologize for that. To anybody I recommend him to, it did not go well. But this entire offense, as you can tell, did not play well. Marquise Hollywood Brown, like Devonta Smith, he had 11 targets, only 4 receptions, 34 yards. Case in point, shitty quarterback. This will happen occasionally. They'll just be bad and mess you up. This is what we hated Zach Wilson for so long. But at least Trey McBride, he did something. So he might be an eye to keep a tight end on because, 4 receptions, 62 yards. I'll take that from a tight end that I'm streaming anytime. That's really good. Higbee sucks. I'm just done with Higbee. And yeah, like you're saying, Cooper Kupp, he's freaking could be the wide receiver 1 the rest of the season. He's just that good, man. Like I don't know why we faded to Cooper Kupp, but if you did, you are seriously regretting life right now because he is incredible.
The broadcast mentioned that Kyler Murray on the sideline looked like a guy who thought he was going to be back soon. He looked to be ready to go. So I got a feeling we're going to see the Josh Dobbs experiment come to an end, and Kyler Murray is going to be back as soon as he physically can. And
he's going to be my QB1 this week to pick up.
Cap things off. Yeah, I might do the same. Detroit dominates Tampa 20-6. Goff has a good game, 30 for 353 and a touchdown. That's a hell of a stat line for 27 points. Baker, 19 for 206, 1 pick, 8 points. The running backs all sucked, mainly because Montgomery got hurt early. He had 6 for 14 with a catch for 19 before going out. Reynolds didn't do much. Zigbo didn't do much. Rashad White, Keyshawn Vaughn. Nobody did anything. ARSB was awesome. 12 for 124 and a TD. Jameson Williams finally came to life, but to be fair, most of it, he had 2 for 53 yards, and I believe most of it was probably 1 for 51 yards and then 1 for 2. It all came on the long touchdown. That was an underthrown ball that he just kind of happened to fall into his arms. I don't read too much into that, so let's not get too high on him. Godwin was okay, 6 for 77. Evans dropped a dud, 4 for 49 is not great. Palmer, Reynolds, they were all okay. 2 for 47 for Palmer, 3 for 50 for Reynolds. Nothing to write home about. Laporta, probably his worst game since week 1. Maybe worst game all season. 4 for 30.
This is his worst game, yeah.
K-Dot 1 for 15. Both kickers sucked. Lions defense was good, but not great for fantasy. What do you think here to round this one out?
I didn't get to watch this game, but it looks like from the stats that Baker Mayfield was under pressure a lot because this is pretty gross stat line from him. And like the Lions have one of the better D lines in the league, so that's kind of what you expect. Yeah, like we talked about Rashad, that's just disgusting. Going against the Detroit defense, we knew the inefficiency, like it could be there, and it showed its ugly head. And then you had Keyshawn Vaughn getting into the work on top of it. So yeah, I don't know what to do with Rashad White moving forward. He kind of just not a guy I want to target. Interestingly enough, that it's a rib injury for Montgomery, and Gibbs is supposed to come back. So if he's out an extended period of time, Gibbs is going to get the ball a lot. So keep an eye on Gibbs after this game. They're basically just flipping what they're doing. Gibbs is going to get a ton of work, and Montgomery probably sit. So yeah, I'm excited to see Gibbs actually get runway and see how he looks in this offense because it's incredible offense. And Amon-Ra is the top 5 wide receiver moving forward. Just a down game for Evans, but like he still saw 10 targets. I'm not too worried about that. Sometimes that happens, but it's nice to see Godwin do something too. So now they're playing together. That's nice that they both can get targets and be efficient.
Yeah, if this goes the opposite way and we get Gibbs in here next week with no Montgomery, good God, all those people who bailed on their Gibbs shares too early, they are really gonna regret it. So.
Yeah.
All righty, well that wraps it up. As I said, we're recording Sunday. Beginning the second quarter here, and it's only 3-0 Giants. This one's ugly. Good God. Anyways, but this will be released at noon on Monday. So if you're listening to it, check back Tuesday at either noon or 12:30, depending on if Jeremy's joining us for the Week 7 waiver show. And then after that, we've got the People's Fantasy Court Wednesday at 10 a.m., followed by the NFC home games for Thursday, AFC home games on Friday, and our usual sit start once again on Sunday. So for Aaron and Jesse, thank you for tuning into the Mad Science Lab podcast. We hope week 6 went better for you than it did for some of us. We'll see you again tomorrow, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.